Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the Economic Development Committee meeting for Wednesday, July 25th, 2018. We have a quorum present. The first item on our agenda is approval of the meeting minutes of June 27th, 2018. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Any opposed? The meeting minutes from June 27th are approved. Tonight we have, I think, 4 items for consideration. The first 2 are storefront modernization projects. And I think maybe the staff has some comments, and one of the applicants is here for Church and Dodge.
Both.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Paulina Martinez. I'm the assistant to the city manager. Today we're presenting 2 applications for the storefront modernization grant. 2 of the applicants, Mr. Soterios Francis, also known as Sam, who is the owner of 1901 Church Street at the corner of Church and Dodge, and Mr. Colin James, also known as Mr. Sterling, owner of 1623 Simpson, where Jennifer Edibles now stands. Both applicants are seeking funds at 100% for a total of $103,222 to install awnings, lighting fixtures, remove lights, box signs, and update windows and doors as needed. And just to give you a little background, economic development staff conducted a geographic analysis to find out where most of the storefront grants were taking place, and we realized that the 5th and the 8th ward were really underrepresented in applying for these funds. The previous guidelines asked that the applicants upfront 100% of the money and then get reimbursed for up to 50%. This has been cost prohibitive for businesses in the 5th and the 8th ward. So staff amended the guidelines to assist businesses in NSP2 areas to take advantage of this program. In this case, NSP2 areas in Evanston are basically the 5th and the 8th ward. City Council approved the new guidelines at the end of 2017. Since then, staff set aside $100,000 to assist NSP2 applicants. Since January 2018, economic development staff has been working with both landlords to procure bids and to work with an architect and a general contractor and help manage the project overall. We received the bids last week. The amount for the full scope of work, which included awnings, new windows, and doors for everyone, removal of the box signs, tuck pointing, and lighting fixtures, was of $234,000. Given the previously established budget of $100,000, the general contractor worked with us to prioritize the work in a way that the impact is still visible, but it conforms to our budgets. In this case, tuck pointing had to be scaled back. Also, windows and doors had to be prioritized based on their condition instead of replacing every single piece. Both the architect and the general contractor are here if you have specific questions about the drawings or about the bids. And I believe there are also some of the tenants for both buildings. So if you have any questions, please let us know. But do you have any questions for me at this point?
First of all, I should have mentioned that this is also for the 1623 Simpson, so it's in effect it's more like a joint application for, right?
It's 2 individual applications.
Well, okay, 2 individual applications, but in the memo it's one sum total.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Correct.
So I mischaracterized that. But the total amount for both applications is $103,222.
Correct.
Okay. And for the 1901 Church, it's $77,676, and for Simpson Street, it's $25,546.
Correct.
We do have the parallel design builders here if we have questions. Do we have any questions for the applicants or the tenants?
I do. I just have a quick question for the architect general contractor.
Sure.
Let
him go ahead and let him get to the
Thanks.
podium. Yeah, go ahead and step up. Thanks, guys.
Hi, my name is Thomas Alleman. I'm the principal of Studio Talo Architecture.
Scott Prestongen, owner of Parallel Design Build.
Just a quick question. Looking for sort of the return on investment, right? What's their projected lifespan of a new set of storefront windows and awnings?
For the ones that we specified?
Yes.
I don't think that I could answer that right now off the top of my head.
Okay. Will they need to be replaced in 3 years or in 20 years?
Much closer to 20 years.
Okay. And how about awnings? 3 years or 20 years?
That's a tough.
Yeah.
Can the GC answer that?
Usually it's about 10 for awnings. That's what we've seen in the past.
Okay.
Based on the research that staff did previously to engage in with the general contractor and the architect, all the feedback we received from the vendors was about 10 years.
On awnings.
On awnings, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Braithwaite.
Thank you, Chair. It was just one quick budget line. I'm really excited, Simmons, for the west side of Evanston and in full support of the project. I do have a question in a couple of the line items. You have overhead profit and supervision, and I probably missed it, the line in the packet that explains what. Just give me some understanding of what that line item is for.
The overhead and profit, it's our general, what we'll make on the project, but
Okay.
it's also my supervision time. So it's the time I invest in the project as well. So it's broken up into those pieces. I don't have it divvied up, but it's a lump sum for all of my involvement in the project.
Perfect. Thank you.
Alderman Sims.
Thank you. So I just want to thank staff for working really hard on this for the last year, and to the architect and the GC for your hard work, and also thank Mr. Sterling and Sam for being long-term property owners and providing affordable options for our businesses in the West End for my whole life. And ask that the committee support this. The area has been disinvested, and I think that we've all agreed on that. And this is an opportunity to have a visible improvement that is vibrant and exciting for the business community that has been thriving there for some time. We have businesses on Church and Dodge that have been there for maybe 30, 40, 50 years. And as well, Mr. Sterling's building is really unrecognized landmark of 1623 Club. So I'm hoping that this is a project that we can get behind and support. I know that we had to be innovative in how we fund it. We usually have a matching program for our facade improvements, but the businesses that occupy these storefronts themselves are low and moderate income business owners mostly. And so this gives them an opportunity to enjoy some of the economic activity and some of the improvements that are happening citywide right here in the West End. So I'm asking support from the committee on this project. Thank you.
Mr. Powell.
The question I have on that, who's applying for this money? Is it the owners?
Right.
The landlords,
landlords
are the applicants today.
And, I agree with you, Robin, as far as there's been business there a long time. But my question is this. Did you look into the leases?
Yes.
Okay, where are we with those leases? On each one of these properties on Church Street?
Sure. They all have a combination of either 2 to 3 years with an option of either a 2 or 3 year renewal. So prior to engaging with them, not everybody had a lease, but Sam was really great in working with us and making sure that every tenant has a lease now.
So, are you done? I'll wait.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just warming up.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. So these businesses on Church and Dodge, he has renewed the leases on these buildings? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
And how long are those, and when were they renewed, and how long are the leases for?
So by our guidelines, they have to be at least 5 years. Either a combination of 2 to 3 years with option to renew 2 or 3 years, depending on how they have their lease. And sorry, what was your second question?
How long are the?
Yeah, 5 years. 5 years.
They're 5-year leases?
Yes.
So they got 2-year leases with the option?
Correct.
of what?
3 years. 3 years with 2-year options.
I need
Sam,
to
can you come
understand
up?
this.
What's your concern? I think
I want
that's
to make sure they got good leases. That's what I want.
So Sam, before you, I want to say this before he speaks.
Okay, hold on,
Right.
hold on.
You know,
Let's
it could
just,
be very easy.
Uh,
yeah, because
bef-
we're recording it, so.
Yeah, so before you respond, thank you, Mr. Powell, for bringing that up. And so that was agenda item number 1 for me and Mr. Sam. And we make this improvement. We want to make sure that these tenants are not subject to lease increases. And so he committed to me that that would not be the case. And he also told me on how long he had kept their rents very, very affordable, under market rate. And I followed up beyond Mr. Sam with the tenants, not all of them, but at least enough to kind of see the theme of what was happening. And I was told from the tenant that they are very satisfied with the agreement of their lease and the rate and the term, and happy that they're getting this improvement and going to have a place to call home for their business for many years to come. So thank you for paying attention to that. I was paying attention to that as well.
Okay, I might go a little bit further with that, but
Okay.
I like for him to answer that question.
Okay. The thing is with me is I don't kick people out as long as they pay the rent. You know, like I'm saying, the barber shop is there 40 years.
I know,
Before
I grew up in that area, so I'm
yeah, that's what
familiar.
I'm saying. So
Right.
I was tired of making leases, you know. So that's why the only reason she didn't have a lease, you know, because we trust each other. You know what I'm saying? So now she told me to get this, I need 5 years. You know, everybody needs 5-year leases. So I gave everybody 5-year leases.
So everybody has a 5-year lease with an
Everybody.
option of 5?
Yes, everybody has. Some of them have 3 years and 2 years option.
Okay. And that's everybody on the lease?
Everybody, everyone.
Okay.
Okay. Alderman Nguyen, did you have a question? Alderman Braithwaite, you good?
No.
Okay. Alderman Rainey.
This is a little different than when we have a tenant coming and applying for an improvement with the owner signing off on it. In this case, this is really a building improvement, which is just fabulous because it's going to be very symmetrical and it's going to make the corner look just terrific. And so I'm glad you did the thing with the leases. That's important. It provides for stability for not only the owner but for the tenant. But it's going to make a big difference for that corner. It's going to really make it pop. And the awnings are going to be all the same. And it appears as though from the drawings that they're going to be all at the same height, right? Mm-hmm. The only concern I would have about that is, and I know that we have some regulation about things being written on awnings, so other than the address, are they just going to be plain awnings?
We
I mean,
plan.
that's an important thing, because we don't want, like Joe's Barber Shop or Sam's Barber Shop, and then, Carol's Cookies, and then have somebody else move in. 'Cause
Sure. We will be working closely with Carlton Mims, who is the
Sign guy,
sign
yeah.
inspector, to make sure that we follow proper regulations.
I think this is fabulous, and the other building too. Every time I go by that other building on Simpson, I think it's just so blank, And I know the 1623 Club. It is a landmark. Even back when I was in high school, it was a landmark. So let's approve this so they can get started.
Okay, any more questions? Is there a motion to recommend this to the council?
I move
So
that
moved.
we do that.
Second.
I saw fingers pointing up in the air.
The architect, Mr. Thomas Hellman, has a couple comments, so I'll cede the floor to him.
Okay, we're about to say yes.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, be careful.
I agree.
Watch
don't
yourself.
So I should just sit down. No, I understand
Necessary.
that. But I just want to be real clear about what we're getting. okay? This is not, so we were charged with awning, storefront, and masonry improvements, really cleaning up the corner and making it look nice. And when this is done, there's still going to be cracks in the brick, and the storefront is still going to have issues. So we are not replacing all the storefront. That's what we were charged with drawing and detailing. That's not what's happening. And there are masonry issues with Sam's building. Those are still going to be there. I don't know how closely everybody looks at these, drawings, and what we drew versus what's happening are not quite the same thing. I think it's great too. I'm very happy. I just want to make sure everybody has the same expectations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And
Thank you.
I do appreciate that clarification. So there's
And
no
I
mistake.
just looked at Sam, and Sam said he's going to take care of all the rest of it. He has no problem.
I saw that same look. I
Did you
saw
see
that
look?
same look. I did.
Yeah, you
I
saw
did.
that look. And Robin,
I
did
saw
you see
it
that
too.
look?
I saw it. Yeah.
I saw that
definitely
look.
saw it.
Sam, you getting a good deal, buddy. You getting a good deal.
Yeah, I've got a grinder
I'll
and a
give you
trowel. I could help out. Okay, thank you. So is there a motion to recommend this to the council? And it's,
It was seconded.
And it was seconded. And this is for both, well, let's do one at a time. So for Church and Dodge, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Church and Dodge will be recommended. For 1823 Simpson, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those will both be recommended to the council. And staff will check in with you guys on the exact date and such.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I know Alderman Simmons had already mentioned this, and I typically don't do this, but I really want to recognize the work that Ms. Martinez did on this project. It's taken a lot of staff time. There was a lot of very interesting coordination that had to happen, and I just wanted to publicly recognize her. She's been working really hard to make this project happen. So thank you, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Martinez. Good work. All right, next on the agenda is the request for North Shore Convention Visitors Bureau annual funding.
Now, that's a good one.
Just left this there.
Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for again having me. I think this is like my 15th year presenting, but who's counting? No, but I do like to, I have a, do you have my, they have my presentation to get up. I'm not going to go through every little detail of who we are. That's in your packet. I try to make it a little bit new and talk about the new things we're doing for those that have to hear this every year. But our request is for the same amount that we asked for last year. That's $81,174. Oh, how do I forward it, or do you? Okay, probably hand me the mouse because it's a lot and I don't want to. Click to the right. Okay. Okay, I'll talk about our new logo when I get to that, but we have a new brand. We are the destination marketing organization for the North Shore, selling Evanston and 7 other communities to visitors regionally and nationally and around the world. We are public-private partnership. Our budget, our fiscal year just started in July. Our budget this year is $1.85 million. And you can see we represent 8 communities. Our funding, half of our funding comes from the Illinois Office of Tourism, and now I think we're at a stage where it's over half. Our grant this year was greatly increased due to the hotel tax being higher at the state level, so it's probably now about 65% of our funding comes from the state of Illinois. The rest comes from our partner municipalities, and then we have members, and we also have advertising. We have a staff of 6 people, and you can see what everyone does here. We're adding a new salesperson in our current fiscal year that we just started. And these are our metrics in terms of what we count, and the occupancy, average daily rate, and revenue per available room. And these are, we get these figures on a monthly basis that we analyze with our board and our hotel committee to talk about trends and what's happening in the industry, but, it's also important to the municipalities because it's the occupancy and the average daily rate end up to be revenue per available room, which is what also affects the city's collection of hotel tax.
Just a moment. Alderman Rainey, did you have a question on that?
Can you talk to us about why it's going down?
It went down in 2017, and it'll probably be flat or the same in 2018.
But it went down in 16, too. It went from 15, 16, 17, it went...
Right, and it's probably going to be flat or the same next year, and that has to do with 8,000 rooms being added in downtown Chicago, and that has hurt all the suburbs with lack of compression.
What about Airbnb?
No impact.
No. Okay.
And again, I have a report on that because we presented that to our board, that has had no impact, that they find that for the most part, Airbnb only spikes at all when there's a humongous event going on downtown, and even then, it's less than 3% of our market, and it's only those specific weekends of Lollapalooza or the Chicago Marathon. Otherwise, doesn't affect it at all.
All right, so not much we can do about that? I mean, not Airbnb, but us going down because of the increase in downtown.
Well, a lot of what we do is market to that. What we do in terms of the meetings market, which is one of our biggest market, is to stress the affordable parking here, our location without having to be on the highway to the airport. I mean, these are things that we constantly do, but eventually this will be absorbed because it's cyclical. But when McCormick Place built a Marriott Marquis with 1,200 rooms and opened that half a year ago, that hurt everybody. I can get into all the details for that, but that added inventory of 8,000 rooms in 18 months in the city hurt the suburbs, all of the suburbs.
How do their prices compare to ours, their room nights?
It's more expensive in the city because Chicago, even for meetings, is still a 70% drive-in location. Even if you get a comparable rate, you're paying $40 or $50 a night to park. So that's really the point that we compete on. But in the winter, we're still going to be always about 20% cheaper than downtown, but in the winter everyone's hurting, and so you have a time period between November and March where you can get a great rate downtown, and so and they want to fill their vast space and they have very aggressive pricing, so it's harder. In the summer everyone's doing better, and again, you can compete on all different levels, but added inventory in general in a city is always going to hurt the surrounding area, just in general.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Year in review, and you can see our annual meeting report. And on the cover, we have a really pretty picture of the new park that was redone last year. But we go through all our metrics, and we count everything: number of trade shows we do, fam trips that we have, the qualified leads that we send to our hotels, advertising that we do, and partnership we have with third-party meeting planning sites, which are the key of how associations and corporations now book group travel. And then these are all the activities that we're involved in: trade shows, direct sales calls, sales missions, email campaigns, websites, online advertising, social media, print publications, fam trips, public relations. Here's a list, just to eyeball it quick, of the trade shows that we go to in a given year. Here's a little bit. We went through a brand review, and if you remember, our old logo had the waves in it, and we don't have the waves in the logo anymore. That was part of the whole brand. The idea of our new logo is that we are City Life Elevated, and that's a play on elevated being north of the city. It's elevated meaning we are an urban area, but we don't have some of the negative things that you have in a city, traffic, etc. So we went through a whole brand review where we talked to all our stakeholders, so hotels, attractions, clients that were booking here, clients that were not booking here, and we were told like what our new brand identity should be to help us with challenges and to reinforce the good things that we have up here. And so that's how we got our new brand identity. And we're going to be rolling that out in our publication. Like you have the older guide. In September, we have our new visitor's guide. We'll have a new website that everything that we do moving forward will incorporate our new brand identity. You have our visitor's guide. We also have a map. These are our print publications. This is a list of some of the places that we place advertising. Some of these are multiple insertions. Some of them are major partnerships, like Cvent, which is the main place where people book meetings now. And here's just examples of some advertising. Again, this is all going to be rebranded too, but on the left side is a meeting planning ad. On the right side is an ad in a German publication that we work with Great Lakes North America. Here's an example of some of the co-op advertising we do. In Evanston, we do co-op advertising on CTA with Downtown Evanston and with Main Dempster Mile, and maybe one day with Central Street. Hey. Okay, sorry. But so we do CTA advertising and other advertising programs that we initiate, or that some of these partners come to us and say, would you partner with us on this? And so we do the ad together and we underwrite it by half. Here's again some of the content-driven advertising that we do in publications, but most of it is all being rebranded. We just celebrated this year our 10th Restaurant Month, very popular in February when all the restaurants need help. We have over 100 restaurants that participate in this program, and it's very popular. Because of it, we started, let me just get through this. Evanston's become a big foodie destination for us, and the federal program and now the state program is really doing a culinary theme. So we are, most of the great restaurants that are in the North Shore are in Evanston. And so we've been doing some really targeted niche advertising. This ad featuring Evanston was in Food Traveler magazine, which is a big foodie magazine for people that travel just to eat and dine. Next, based on the popularity of our restaurant month, we launched this year a museum month, and that was in April, and it was very successful. It was a good time during spring breaks, and people got 2-for-1 admission to museums, so they could go to the New Halim Museum here and some other all the museums that we have, the Mitchell Museum of American Indian, and all the different museums on the North Shore for people who haven't been there. It's spring break. They don't know what to do with their kids, and they got to go to these museums 2-for-1. So we're going to be repeating that. It was very well received. We have a newsletter that goes to 11,500 people on the North Shore, and we promote all the major events happening in the area. There's a full events calendar on it for everything going on that month. We have our website, which I told you we're rebranding, and our website within it has the landing pages for all our campaigns that we continuously do. For every season, we have a campaign, whether it be back to school, fall, Halloween, holiday, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day. We work with all our partners to get content of what they offer for those specific time periods, and that's what we promote to get people to come here and go to our hotels, restaurants, attractions, and retailers. We also have blogs, and we have about 4 new blogs that launch every month, and they're all on different topics, and this is just an example of them. Where to have kids' parties, free things to do on the North Shore, where to golf, we have hundreds of these topics, and we repurpose these blogs, which are now content-driven advertising that point back to our website. So if you're ever on a website and you see a little article that says, best hamburgers or best this, that's what content-driven advertising is. So we'll have an ad, and it'll point to one of our blogs that exists on our website, and we're always refreshing our blogs. We have a new software on our website called Visit Widget, which takes our whole membership database and it plots it on a map. So you can say, I'm staying in this hotel, what's around me? Or I'm staying in this hotel, I'm going to go up to the Botanic Garden. How far is that? Because again, if people are not from here, these are just names to them of places. They don't know where things are in relation to each other. So this allows them to plot that and then put their own itinerary together and print that out, and it also incorporates their social media. We started and launched in Evanston a new partnership with City Bikes, in which we have bike itineraries, so you can plot where you're going to go, exactly how far it is from point to point, and on this there's a map on that red button, and you can plot your route, and you know exactly how far it is and where you can go. So this itinerary begins and ends in downtown Evanston. We're going to be launching about 8 different itineraries, and once those are ready, it's all going to be part of a dedicated app. Right now it resides on our website and on City Bikes, but once we have all the bike itineraries on there, it'll be a dedicated app. Social media, and these are just some of our metrics of how many we have on each page. We do a lot in social media. We have a person dedicated to posting on social media, and then someone that just does boost and paid posts for us, because that's where it's at. And Facebook and Instagram are connected, so we not only promote an event, we then boost it to specific targeted audiences, whether it's a sidewalk sale, farmer's market, anything that's going on in Evanston and our other communities. That's a really strong way of how we push these things out. These are samples of some Facebook ads we do. We do almost 300 of these a year. So it's, instead of doing big ads now in magazines like we used to, we now do hundreds of specialty targeted ads. We do fam trips, and this is in the lobby of the Hilton Garden Inn. This is where we bring in meeting planners. This is in relation to the Religious Conference Management Association that comes in the winter, and not in Chicago every year, but this was a related fam trip to that, and meeting planners that wanted to come up to the North Shore. We bring them here, we host them, they stay in our hotels, and we show them everything there is to do and why they should have their meetings here. So this is a picture of one of them. We do a lot of these in site inspections all the time. This is really interesting. We are working with the state of Illinois, and in their international program, we're bringing influencers and tour operators here. And this was like a week or two ago where we had KOL, and that's key. They're not influencers in China. They're called key opinion leaders, KOLs. And these people are all vetted out that they have major either Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook accounts in China, and they were brought over here by the state via United Airlines partnership, and they came and spent a day in Evanston, and they went here, they ate at Smiley Brothers, they went all over Evanston, and they had a great time. And so I just got this picture from the group, so I said, I'm going to show you guys today. But we do a lot of these. We do a lot of, and we work a ton with downtown Evanston, because a lot of times, we have multiple groups coming in at once, and we could never be with them and create their itinerary and take them around on our own. So if it wasn't for Annie and Laura I'd have to say no to people. So thank you, because I need the help. We have monthly networking events. Oh, do you have a question?
Was that picture of the Time Museum that's downstairs? Okay, just wanted to make sure that was added to the list of important places to go. It's an international destination.
Yes. And speaking of that, tomorrow we have networking events once a month, and tomorrow from 5 to 7 we have a free networking event at the Time Museum, so please come. And then we did a Instagram seminar with Downtown Evanston at the new Rock and Ravioli last month, and we sold out. And we had the person that we work with for Restaurant Month. She's a major foodie Instagrammer, and she did a seminar to both of our, we invited everybody. It wasn't really, you didn't have to be a member of our organization to come. And basically it was Basics 101, how you can promote your business with no budget on Instagram. So it was very popular and well received. And we have different topics, but 4 times a year. We're in the middle of our photo shoot season now. These aren't brand new photos, but these are some of the photos we've taken in the last year, and we're trying to get the new Fountain Square, once it's finally done, shot, but we have taken a lot of new pictures. Now's the season. Our photographer's out and about a lot, so photography is very important to us in what we do in the digital age now with everything picture-driven. We do traditional old-school public relations also. We respond to over 300 inquiries a year, which is why it's like a drag and why I always need new photography, because people always want photos with articles and listings, and every request is unique and different and custom made, but that's what we're here for, and that's why we need a lot of photography. So that's why photos are so important, because that's what people want in terms of creating articles, and you're going to for sure get listed in the magazine, the website, the blog, or whatever they're writing for if you have great imagery. And another thing I should mention too is we just had last Wednesday a travel writer from Parade magazine that's inserted in a lot of. She stayed at the Orrington, and she went to a bunch of restaurants around town, and she already wrote her article and sent it to me. I haven't had time to read it yet, but that's a lot of what we're doing now with our dollars. If people want to come here and highlight the area, we say yes, and we bring them here, and usually they have an idea of a theme that they're doing, and they know what they want to write about. We facilitate it and just say yes and make it happen. So we just did one last week, but we do probably 2 or 3 a month like that. And that's a quick synopsis. I don't know if there's any questions, or I love questions.
No, it's obviously it's a lot, and it's a big impact. And honestly, I feel like I've really been seeing, and I know that there are partnerships with downtown Evanston and the existing special service areas, but just a lot of stuff being pushed out. So, there's a lot going on. So I saw your food truck one. I happened to see that wherever it was, whether it was Instagram or Facebook or something. I'd seen that land on something of mine. So I can see that it is getting out there myself. So it's good stuff. It's a lot of stuff, which is what we need. Yeah. Okay. No questions. Is there a motion to recommend the request to council?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
for your hard work.
What happened to your ankle?
I was going to see Slick Rick at Temperance, and on the way, I rolled in my shoe. My husband said, "Keep walking, you're fine." You couldn't walk still if your foot was bad. And I stood at the concert for 2 hours, halftime in the rain, went home, couldn't stand on my foot, went to the hospital, my foot's broken.
Oh. And she's here, folks.
Don't show this video to her husband.
That's right.
That's how's her husband?
Thank you very much. Mr. Zalmazak, the next item, I guess, is a discussion item, Central Street Special Service Area.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My partner, Ms. Martinez, is my backup. I think she's still dealing with the first start. Well, thank you. There she is, just right on time. So thank you for the opportunity to discuss this item tonight. This is the idea of pursuing a feasibility study for a special service area to be created on Central Street. This would follow the same process that we initiated for the main Dempster Mile Group. Very similar process. To my right is some of the board, and we'll invite them up to speak. The idea here is that we would use some economic development funds. We have a little bit of budget left for a consultant to begin the process of a feasibility study to determine special service area boundary. And for those perhaps watching or on the dais who don't know what a special service area is, very briefly, it's essentially a voluntary district set up by merchants, and this is the case in Evanston, who have agreed to tax themselves for an additional level of service to deliver things like marketing or, in some cases, and I don't think this is the case in Central Street, snow removal, streetscape, things like that. So that's not something that the taxpayers generally pay for. It's actually the property owners who then pass that tax on to their tenant. So I'll invite the group up to speak. I wanted to point out, I believe it's on page 85 and 86 of the packet, the staff report shows kind of the two commercial district areas of Central Street. It's unique in that way, in that it's split up. There's a gap in between that's mostly residential. So we as staff and I'm sure the consultant will try to figure out a way to make the boundary of this district contiguous, so to meet the state statute. We tend not to like to put residential into special service areas because they don't generally directly benefit from special service. That is, you can make the argument that they do because there's, maybe a more cleanly area or something like that, or clean area. But in this case, this isn't like high rises like in downtown Evanston. This is really like two flats in an apartment building. So we're going to figure out a way to make sure that the residential is not included. So with that said, I'd like to invite, who's representing the group tonight? The Spice Man, Mr. Erd, will come up and talk a little bit about his experience. I believe they have something in the range of 30 businesses who have expressed support for the project.
Good evening, economic development folk. I'm Tom Erd from the Spice House on Central Street, and we've been there for 22 years, and in that 22 years, it's never been more difficult to run a small business than it is now. We're dealing with huge rents, and wages are way up. Insurance, health insurance, workers' comp. You guys have heard these laments before, so I won't get into it all. But it's really, really difficult for small people. Like Central Street is mostly populated with very, very small merchants and service providers. So what happens is, we have to sell way, way more stuff now than we ever did before. Way more stuff than we did just 5-10 years ago. That means we're working a lot harder and a lot longer as owners. And the owners that make up our Central Street Association that we have now as volunteers just don't have the bandwidth anymore to commit their time and their resources to running and managing this Central Street business organization effectively. I mean, we still exist. We still have some meetings. We still get some people to come, but we are really, really struggling. Each year we have elections, and we just hope somebody steps up to the plate to be the president, because we no longer have to elect anybody. We have to recruit somebody, And you don't have a president, then meetings don't get called, the plants don't get watered, and the whole thing fizzles away. So, what we really need is a stronger funded association that we and the neighborhood knows is going to be around next year. The Chamber of Commerce helps. They help with some promotion for us. The economic development people here at City Hall, especially in the last 5 years, have been great. And they've been real helpful, and we appreciate that. But, they can't plan our advertising and our sidewalk sales and that kind of stuff. That has to come from Central Street folk. So what Central Street really needs is an executive director whose job is, to work on Central Street matters, and a desk, and a phone, and a file cabinet, and a computer. and we need funding for that, and we need funding to promote our activities and events. We need money to maintain our planters. We need creative work on our banners. The city took down our banners to put up the flags, the American flags for the 4th of July parade, and they don't even want to put them back up because they're so ratty and beat up. And I mean, we want to design new banners. We want to get them printed. We want to get them hung, but it just ain't happening. We don't have the time or the money to do this kind of stuff that a good business district really needs to do. So anyway, we think that a small SSA for Central Street is the best way to fund this kind of stuff, to stabilize the community organization that we are, whose purpose is to the betterment of the Central Street business corridor. Central Street rarely has commercial vacancies. Even in 2009, 2010, we held up really good, and we'd love to keep this thing going. But we really think that the small SSA for Central Street is the best way to fund a strong and continuing Central Street organization. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Alderman Braithwaite. We'll have some questions.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know that I had my light on, but.
Oh, did you have a question?
It's my light.
Thank you for the
I'm sorry, Alderman.
No, I'll make the comment just saying thank you for the presentation and for advocating and investing in your businesses this way. So I'll be supportive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Can I?
Yes.
So here's my answer. Absolutely yes. Main Dempster Mile, SSA in the 3rd Ward, 3rd and 4th Ward. They had the exact same issues you did. They had a few really terrific people who could organize everything and who got burnt out. And they saw the effects of a wine walk or all kinds of events they had, but they really needed an executive director, and they wanted to join both Dempster and Maine together. And there's a logo. There are these really terrific banners. The executive
events,
director,
and it worked out great.
And events, and there are free concerts this summer. I mean, it has, and this is a much. It has a long stretch between the two, but it's still pulled together. And this process I went through the whole process with them. It was very well done, and I think it's a terrific idea for our small business districts. And I'm sure that you will notice an immediate difference. You're right, planners get planted. New ideas. I mean, the executive director, Catherine Gossick at Main Dempster Mile, is terrific. She works with Annie all the time. I wholeheartedly support this. It is a terrific process to go through and to create one.
Well, that's what we need. At this point, we just need support. We got to go out and get the consultant, and
Right.
We're not asking for any money at this point, but we might need some help.
Yes, right. And I will point out that Mr. Powell has just pointed that Main Dempster Mile gives back to the community a lot. I mean, it really has crystallized things. So now we rarely have a vacancy, and we have businesses who want to move into the area as well. Yeah.
I just wanted to speak in support of this. I really enjoy doing business on Central Street from one end to the other, and to add some of the resources that I've seen at the Main Dempster Mile would be tremendous. I really enjoyed the Chris Green free concert there a couple weeks ago. So I think that there's plenty of opportunity to kind of improve the shopper experience on that street, and I hope that other merchant associations kind of model after that. I've actually recommended that the Central Business Association get in touch with Main Dempster Mile because they're such an example, so I support it.
Thank you.
Alderman Rainey? Is your mic on, Alderman Rainey?
I'm sorry. Remind me how the study gets funded.
To my knowledge, there's two ways to do it, but Mr. Z knows more.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to, the thing that's concerning me is it seems to me with Main Dempster Mile that it was going to be funded, we funded it first, and then we were going to get reimbursed out of the first levy, but I was never sure we did.
No, I think we did.
Yeah, okay. Well, all right.
I'm sure of it.
Clarify
So
that for me.
yeah, so the a little bit of research I did before the meeting just to remind myself, because it's been 2 years. So I mean, we're doing, the volume of activity in this town is remarkable for its size. But we spent $36,000 with a consultant for the feasibility study. And then there's the actual process of implementing the SSA, which is in the range of $50,000 to $75,000. So, and then that could be paid back over a period of time through depending on what the feasibility study says for how much the Central Street District would generate. You know, it's a smaller district, and I think they want to keep their budget pretty tight. They want to keep it fairly simple. Because there aren't enough pins or the parcels in the district to pay the taxes that would be required for a big program, unless they want to have higher taxes. So we have to figure that out. But the feasibility study would reveal that. And as I mentioned, we have some, despite the communication I made that we're out of money for our economic development programs. That's for the programs that we had presented this year. We do have a little bit of extra funding that's assigned to things like studies, reports, things like that. So there would be some funding for that feasibility study. Did I answer your question, Alderman?
Yeah, I mean, but we did get paid back for the.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we had a Howard Street meeting this morning, and one of our new members was the founding member of the Main Dumpster Mile, Malik Turley. And I'm so happy to have her. But we were talking about Main Dumpster Mile, and it's just the most fabulous organization in the way it flourished and grew. Just
right.
great.
So,
And-
and we forget that our downtown organization, and Annie's here this evening, is our kind of original SSA,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
they've been wildly successful, I would argue. And by the way, one thing we're fortunate to have Mr. Erd. I met him in 2007, 2006 when I was working for the city of Chicago, where we established I think we were reestablishing it on Wells Street. And so he has lots of experience. He's already into a second round of the SSA there, so he brings some experience on his own. So it's good to have
He
him.
can be in charge.
He can be in charge for the process. But you may have heard he's in semi-retirement at the moment.
Well, then he has a lot of time.
He has a lot of time. Yeah. I've thrown you under the bus.
I actually it's more of a comment, but along the lines of the success of the main dumpster mile, I think one of the things that helped it really get some traction was reaching out to the property owners. I see the list is mostly, it looks to me like tenants, but finding property, building owners and property owners who can, I'll say, be champions for the cause. So, lining a few of those up who can kind of go out and be supportive from that perspective.
You're right about that, and we did pigeonhole one of the largest landlords in Evanston, who's on Central Street, just 3-4 weeks ago, and finally got his support on this. So we're good to have it's good to have him on our side. So yeah, we've started that process of talking to the landlords and recruiting them and their support, because without the they're getting the tax bill.
Right.
So without the landlords and the property owners, this goes nowhere, and we know that.
Right, and it's great because you have a model that with a proven track record that you can show.
Yeah. Now we're going to be a lot smaller than Dempster, Maine, but the theory's the same.
Right, exactly.
But it looks like you have a lot of owners and managers on your list.
I think those are business owners, not property
They're
owners.
business owners. They're not
Business
property owners.
owners. Oh,
yeah, we need the landlords and the property owners behind
I
us
thought when it said owners,
for the
it
most
means-
part.
oh,
Right,
they're not
right.
necessarily
And we did
building
get the biggest landlord. So
okay.
That's
yeah.
key. That's a good key. Hecky?
Yeah, Paul, just a quick question. How much, when you say we have money left over, you have money left over, I mean, how much will go into this project? What?
Right. So in that table that I have in the next report, it doesn't show that we have a line item for consulting of $25,000 or training and travel of $6,000. We're not going to use any training and travel money this year. So we have them enough money for a feasibility study for this group, and that's
You got enough
essentially
money.
you're right.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
No, I'm supportive of this program. In fact, since I've been on this committee, you're the best one that's given him behind you. I like your style.
Oh,
it was easy.
Thanks,
I
Andy.
understand it. Yeah. And
I like your sauce.
Yeah. And I'll be biased to see you so you can do my seasoning. But, I so move that we approve this.
Okay, Alderman Braithwaite, did you have any
Yeah, this is just a brief question just in terms of the list, and I'm great representation. I just had one question about the Evanston Public Library. Are they paying taxes?
No.
Their portion. So
think
we
they're
own the
just
building. That's what I was saying.
supportive.
I was just interested. It popped out at me. So, yeah.
All right, there was a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of directing the staff to take the next steps as set forth in the memorandum, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Nice work.
All right. I guess it's just general direction. We probably didn't actually have to vote. But,
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
but it feels good to have a good vote.
It's clear
right?
direction.
Yes, thank
Clear
you.
direction. Okay. Do you have anything that you need to present beyond what's presented in the materials for the communications? All right. Any comments or new business from the committee? Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a
Second.
second? Okay. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. We are adjourned.